Hello, welcome. I'm Tom Sinclair, that VidBlaster guy. It's a brand new year. I tell you what, I am so excited about the year 2015. I am about to bust. If this is your first time watching, welcome. We're glad you're here. If you're watching us live, I hope you're joining us in the chat room. It's a friendly bunch in there. They might tease you a little bit, but anyway, they're pretty well behaved. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching on YouTube. That's great. We hope you subscribe. That way you'll know when we post a new video, which we try to do every week, sometimes a couple a week. I am so excited about today's show. What a great way to start out a new year. I have got one of my best VidBlaster buddies, Al Bunt, from Wisconsin Rapids, Wisconsin, Good Shepherd Lutheran Church up there, that's joining us today. He's kind of warming up in the green room, as it were, right now. But we're going to talk about the VidBlaster Playout Controller and some of the cool stuff that you can do with it, and some what I would call perhaps undocumented or secret features that Al has figured out how to use. So we're going to get to Al in just a second. But full disclosure, I'm not licensed for anything except maybe to operate an automobile. I'm an approved, authorized VidBlaster reseller. And so you can, if you wish to, you can purchase VidBlaster or upgrade VidBlaster with me. Just go to my website and you can buy it there, or you can shoot me an email if you want to chat about it in advance. So, keep in mind, I'm promoting this product, but I really do believe in it too, and it's a lot of fun to use. And we've been doing this show, golly, 2.5 years now. We've started out with the theme, one man, one PC, one awesome broadcast, and still one guy, still using one PC. And the broadcasts in the very beginning were not very good. They were pretty terrible, frankly, but they're getting better, and a lot of it has to do with me more so than it has to do with the software. But it's been fun to watch VidBlaster improve. I think when I started paying attention to VidBlaster, it was at version 0.36 or maybe 0.42. Anyway, it was back in the dark ages, as it were. You remember, dog years are like 7 years to 1 year for humans, and digital age is like 100 years to a year. It's amazing the changes that go from year to year. But VidBlaster has grown and matured and gotten bigger and more powerful and added more features. And a lot of the features that are usable are not quite finished yet. And one of those is the Playout Controller. And in some ways you say, oh, well, why would you want a piece of software that's not finished yet? Well, I'll tell you why. Because VidBlaster is unique. Well, I take that back. It's not unique, but it's one of the few software programs out there where the developer really does have an active interest in what the users think and how they want the program to operate. In fact, I just saw on the VidBlaster forum this morning that the developer was asking for some input as to how some functions would work in the Playout Controller. And that's the subject of our discussion today. With no further ado, I want to bring in my very special guest, Al Bunt. Al, welcome to the broadcast. Glad to have you today.
Happy New Year.
Indeed. Al has been a guest. I think this may be number 4 or perhaps number 5 times on this show, and Al is the resident VidBlaster guru. We probably ought to just call him Dr. VidBlaster and get over with it. He has dived into macros and the API, which is what does API stand for, Al?
Application Programming Interface, I think, or something like that.
Okay. Basically, it's a way to command VidBlaster remotely or with a series of commands in the macro feature. And Al has really figured this out. Now, again, full disclosure, in order to use macros and the API, and a lot of what we're going to be talking about here in just a few minutes, you have to have VidBlaster Studio or Broadcast editions. If you have the Home or the Pro editions, you're not going to be able to do what Al is going to show in his video in a few minutes. You have to have the studio edition or the broadcast edition in order to do this. Al, I think at Good Shepherd you guys have got the studio edition, don't you?
That's correct. Yeah, studio. Okay. We've been with studio ever since day one. So.
Okay, that's right. And you've upgraded from version 2 to version 3. That was the upgrade that y'all made last year.
Correct.
Okay, very cool. Well, Al, if you would, give the folks an idea of what you're doing with VidBlaster at Good Shepherd and, a little bit of history on that.
Well, we've been live streaming our worship services since 2009. I started the same version you were, 0.0 or 0.39, way back when. And we've come a long way. I've got a really good base of online viewers and church members now. So, besides just the worship service, an hour on a Sunday and an hour in midweek, tinkering on with a Playout Controller, trying to figure out, technically, yes, I could stream our worship services 24/7. I don't currently, but I'll at least run them throughout the day. So if someone can't get to church on service or in the morning and wants to sit down at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and watch our live service, that's on the live page the whole time.
Wow. Oh, that's cool. Now, you were saying in the pre-show that you were asking me what my record number was in chat, and yours is like two times what mine is. But you've got like 36 people that are showing up in chat, and this is for the live service, and maybe even more than that watching on a Sunday.
Yeah, it's about 20 for most of the service, not all the way through, but at least through the sermon anyway. But we set a record last Sunday at 37. So
awesome. How many of those folks are regular members that just can't make it to church, and then how many of those you think are outside of that category?
Oh, about a dozen.
Okay.
On any given day. I mean, I have actual members that come to church too, and if they're not feeling well or they don't want to spread their cold around, they'll watch from home. So, or, a few elderlies that just can't get out in the cold weather. I don't blame them. Didn't want to get out at -8 this morning either, but I did.
Golly, that's brutal. That is brutal. Oh, I think Al's video's frozen up. We were having some problems with some freezing. I think that was affecting the internet connection between Alabama and Wisconsin. Al, do we have some audio on you?
I'll try that here.
Yeah.
My load speed went down. So
okay.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Great.
We have a picture of you. Looks like you're napping, but I promise, folks, he's not napping. He's very much with it. Well, Al,
I think you can show that.
His audio's breaking up. His internet speed has been kind of coming and going. So let's see if we can give him a chance to, or give it a chance to sort of stabilize a little bit. The Playout Controller is I'd say a relatively new feature of VidBlaster, and it replaces the old playlist module. Now, if you're familiar with VidBlaster, you know that pretty much everything happens in a module. You have a module for your camera, and a module for video, and a module for a picture or a PowerPoint or whatever you're doing, an overlay. And there was a playlist module that allowed you to load up a bunch of files and play them. I mean, video files or audio files for that matter. That was replaced by the Playout Controller, which actually pops up as a separate window. So you can move it over to a different monitor if you wanted to. And the Playout Controller has the ability to play a series of video files, but it also has the ability to execute API commands and to start macros. And what Al has done is to really dive into that and figure out some ways to do some things with it that I think may or may not have been intended by the developer, but sure are pretty cool, and I think will probably become documented features and maybe made a little easier. For example, if Al is Al, do we have any audio on you yet?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, my internet's coming back slowly here, so.
Okay. All right, very good. Well, Al, so you heard me describing. Tell folks what you have done, and then we'll show the video here in just a second.
Okay. Well, my last little update I just did was based on your feature request asking to be able to pop in overlays over a pre-recorded video announcing what's coming up next or whatever you would want on that. So I did a little experimenting. I've been running playlists for about a year now, showing different videos and switching overlays in between the videos. So I figured I'll have to give it a shot there. So I go into a little bit of depth here on why we use the playout and what your request was, and I figured out a way to do it.
And the idea, I thought, was, wouldn't it be cool if you could be able to play out and see, let me, if I were going to run that VidBlaster guy and do the best of series, and I really wanted to do this actually on New Year's Day, and I could never get my act together in order to do that. Had too much fun New Year's Eve, I guess, and slept late New Year's morning. But I would have wanted to take, say, maybe the best 10 shows that I'd done and run them back to back. But near the end of show number 1, I wanted an overlay to appear on the screen that says, hey, stick around. We're going to be talking about XYZ in show number 2. So that folks might have, might say, oh, I'm not interested in this. But hey, I know this other show's coming in just a minute. Now, I understand anybody can go to, YouTube or to your website and pick up your old shows and watch them when they want to. But there's just something about looking at that show while it's, quote unquote live, even though it's pre-recorded, that I think becomes interesting. And so the thought would be to be able to flash these just little overlays, or maybe just a little bug in the corner of the screen that would come up and announce what the next show was. And you could do that 3 or 4 times during the show. And Al has figured out how to do that. And I think that is just immensely cool. Now, a word of warning. I've watched Al's video twice already, and I'm not the brightest bulb in the room. If you guys thought I was, then I'm sorry. I have to confess. I'm definitely not the brightest bulb. And it's a little bit of a learning curve in order to get up with that. So let's see. Oh, looks like we've pretty well lost Al altogether. So Skype is going to try to get Al back. And while they do that, why don't we just take a look at the video and see what we can see, and maybe we can get Al to join us back again. I can't imagine, how bad weather does affect this kind of stuff. Okay, so let's see. We're gonna queue up. We're gonna queue up the video here, and then we'll just play. Here we go.
Hello, my name's Alan Bunt. I'm from Good Shepherd Lutheran Church and School in Wisconsin Rapids, Wisconsin. Today we're going to have a short tutorial on how to use VidBlaster's Playout Controller for a specific function that's been requested. Before I get into that, we live stream our worship services on Sundays and either Wednesdays or Thursdays, depending on the time of the week. And I use VidBlaster to stream the video out to our online viewers. After our worship services, which are usually an hour in length, I will rebroadcast our worship services throughout the day or through the evening for a preset amount of time, and I use the Playout Controller to do that. I've been working with that for about almost a year now, so Playout Controller works very well. The reason for this video is due to the feature request that Tom Sinclair put in the VidBlaster support forum, and his question is, what if you could insert or add an overlay to the playlist that would appear at a predetermined time in the video that preceded it? The overlay would appear for a predetermined time and then turn off. And what I've interpreted here, and I've got a way to do this now, that I figured out is you want to play a video on your playout list, and at a specified time you want to load an overlay up, turn a lower third on announcing something, or like what's coming up next to the next video, and then at a set time turn it off and let the video finish playing. So what you'll see on the screen here is my VidBlaster replay mode profile. I call it my rerun profile, and a playout list that I have loaded here. This is just a generic one that I started for this tutorial. I run a number of different commands here to get things started when I start playing. I won't go into them at this point, but at this point right here, this is the first video I want to start playing. And basically about 5 seconds into this, it starts playing. This video length is 5 minutes and 8 seconds. I think what Tom was wanting to do here is somewhere during this length of this video, he wants to put up a lower third announcing something coming up. What you can do is run an API command while this video is playing at a specified time and load up an overlay file into one of the overlay modules, and then turn it on for a specified time and then turn it back off again. And I can show you how to do that here right now. So back up to here. This is this video. Its normal runtime is 5 minutes and 8 seconds. So arbitrarily, I'll just put at 2 minutes into this video, we want to load an overlay. So this video is going to start and run for 2 minutes here. Actually, the video is going to run the full 5 minutes and 8 seconds, but at 2 minutes, we're going to run this next command here. I'm going to insert a command here to load up the overlay file. I'm going to go off screen here and grab a copy here, and I will insert a command right at this point right here. You insert a command by picking the spot where you want the command to go above, and you insert, and you can just paste it right in here. Okay. After we load this file, which is the VidBlaster Overlay Blue, into the Overlay 2 module here, then we want to turn it on. Let me go grab another piece of code over here, and we want to insert that right here. This is an API command to turn the overlay module on. Overlay 2 on, true. We wanted that to run for a specified amount of time, let's say 30 seconds. So 2 minutes here. I'm going to add a little delay into this command here also so that you can at least see what happens to it. I'll just put 5 seconds on there. So at 2 minutes, we're going to run the next command. It's going to stay up on the screen here for 5 seconds. And then at 2 minutes 05, it's going to run this command, which is going to turn the overlay on. It's going to run for 30 seconds. At the end of that, we want to turn that overlay off and move on to our next command. So we've pasted that in. So again, back up to the video. At 2 minutes, we're going to run this command, wait 5 seconds, run this command, wait 30 more seconds, and turn the overlay off. But this video is still playing. It was 5 minutes long. So if you add this all together, 5 minutes and 8 seconds minus 2 minutes, 5 seconds, 2 minutes and 35 seconds equals 2 minutes and 33 seconds. And I did that wrong. Let me back up again. Got to put the zeros in there. So if you add these all together, 2 minutes plus 5 seconds plus another 30 seconds plus another 2 minutes and 33 seconds equals 5 minutes and 8 seconds. So while this video is running, we're going to run this command, and this command. And by the time this command gets done playing, the video will be done, and we'll move on to our next command here, which is macro 31. Let me see if I can demo this for you to see how it works. It's going to take a couple minutes here. And you're going to hear a little audio on the video as it starts playing, and I'll turn the volume down a little bit. I have some macro shortcuts on how I start this playout, so I'm not going to go into that in this video, but I'm going to go ahead and hit that button here and start. I'm going to put my cursor up here on this video so you can see when it starts. Watch over here on these, you'll see as they come across here. So we're waiting for this to count down. We're going to turn the streamer on. There goes the streamer. And then we overloaded a video and an overlay. And I'll turn this down now so that you don't hear it. And as this video is playing, you'll notice I have an overlay 1 turned on. I'm streaming. This overlay 1 shows the what's coming up next. It says coming up worship replay. I change these throughout the process here. But at 2 minutes, when this counts down, we're going to load a different overlay in this module right here. And then 5 seconds later, we're going to turn it on. And then at 30 seconds, we're going to turn it off. Actually, no, I'm sorry. We're going to turn it on for 30 seconds. At 30 seconds, we're going to run this command, which turns it off. And we're going to wait 2 minutes and 33 seconds for the video to stop playing. Hopefully, this will show you how you can load an overlay while a video is playing. It's no different than if you were to, while this video is playing, load a file in here and turn it on. You're just using the playout list to run those commands. And what to say while we're watching this video as 30 seconds counts down here. Let's see, this video is going to run under 3 minutes here, and you'll be able to watch my timing here. It should be pretty close. So 30 seconds is coming up here, and in 30 seconds we're going to load this file into this overlay module. 5 seconds later we're going to turn it on, and again it's going to stay on for 30 seconds. Then we're going to run this command, turn it off, and then we're going to wait this amount of time, 2 minutes 33 seconds, to run the next command. Gets confusing, I know. And if you have a long playout list that's 40 or 50 commands, but once you get in program, now you notice the overlay load file loaded, and now it's turned on. See the overlay up here? And we will wait as it counts down here. The overlay is on there right now, over top of the video. I didn't click anything to do that. To watch this box and watch this one, it's going to turn off here in 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Off. And now we're going to 2 minutes and 30 seconds, 2 minutes and 30 seconds here for the video to stop playing. So I hope this will help you figure out how to set up a playlist to load overlays at certain points during videos. So you could have an hour-long video, and at certain points in that video, load an overlay on top of it for 30 seconds or a minute, turn it back off, continue watching the video, and keep doing that. You just need to take your total video length time and split it up where you want the overlays to load in, turn on, and turn off. The big key part of this last command where you turn it off, this is where your delay is until your next command. You could load another overlay here at this point. Depends on how complicated you want it to get. There is no quick button or command to add in, turn this overlay on at such time. You have to manually do it. I hope that makes sense. Hopefully we'll show here in just a couple minutes here, actually 1 minute and 20 seconds here, as you watch this video play. This is a video I play in between my worship services on Sunday replay. We got 1 minute 12 here, 1 minute 12 here. So it's going to work out about right. This is going to get done. A second later we're going to move on to this command right here. This is where we're at right here. My Playout Controller runs automatically by itself when I'm not even here at my booth. It runs all day long and shuts itself off at the end. You'll notice my commands are when I get done playing my videos, I stop the player, I stop the output, I turn the overlay off, and I turn the streamer off. And it just stops streaming, and my computer shuts down at a specified time every night, so it reboots everything. So 30 seconds, we're going to be done with this video, and we're going to move on to our next command, which will be this one right here. It says macro 31 execute. So you can load API commands to run one of your macros that you've got pre-set up to run it. This one happens to, it's going to run it, wait 5 seconds, and then load another one. What these two macros do is load a different overlay up here on the top to show what's coming up. And you'll get to see it here. There we go, video's done. 3, 2, 1. Next up is the next video. And that's all there is to it. Once you get these set up and saved, it's really easy. One thing to remember on these commands over here, once you enter those in, don't edit them. If something's wrong, you need to delete it and add it in again, because that's just a description block there, and all you'll change is the description. The command stays the same. You can't see the command here. It's over here on the side somewhere. I believe that's going to get fixed here shortly. So, well, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will plan to do more of these in the future here. And let's see if I can shut my playout off here and use a couple little macros to turn everything off. Turns it off, and then a reset resets it. That's all there is to it. It's as simple as that. Macros and playout are the bomb. So with that ado, what am I saying? With that note, let me release you, and you can go on to the rest of the show. Thank you very much for watching, and I will do more of these tutorials as I think of them. We will talk to you later. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Absolutely awesome, Al. I think we've actually got Al back on the line. Let's see if we can bring him in. Al, are you there?
Yes, I am.
All right. Very good. Very good.
Never fails. You start a broadcast and your router just decides it's just not going to work anymore. So you have to go just power it off and turn it back on. Never fails.
I understand. Been there, done that. I bet we're going to have a bunch of questions in the chat room. And if you're watching on YouTube, if you want to add questions into the comment section, either Al or I will address them as they come in. But Al, I think you've got a question in chat right now from Bob up in Maine. You and Bob were having a contest earlier as to who had the coldest night. Was it -3 or -6? I think you may have won, but
one battle.
Yeah, but Bob asked, can the overlay be a video clip or an animated lower third?
I have not been able to get that to work with VidBlaster for animated overlays. I was just working with an overlay module. So,
okay.
Could you do it with a? I don't know if you could do it with an overlay, because you can't play 2 videos at once, so it wouldn't be video. So I'm not sure if we're going to get to that point someday. I hope so. I would love to have animated overlays.
Okay. I can imagine. I don't know that it would be realistically feasible, but technically, using the effects module and a chroma key, if you had an animated lower third where the rest of the screen was green, what you would just see would be the animation at the bottom. But I don't know if that would really be feasible in reality.
Could you switch to an effect module from a player and program with the playout? Not sure. You should be able to with an API command. I have not tried that yet.
You could do it using the API command as long as you were using the streamer. Whether you can go to an effect module directly, I'd have to look it up and see.
Yeah, I don't know if we can do that in playout yet.
Right.
Look up.
Right.
Somebody put your feature request in the forum, and we got Mike looking at him now. So he kind of backed off a while until we started thinking of some ideas, and now he's we're all thinking again. Or like I told Mike this morning, it's like my brain hurts now.
I bet it does. Why? How did you figure all this stuff out?
I went way back. There was a post way back on the overlay way back when, more than a year ago, and with the duration block.
Okay.
And I started thinking about that, and it's like, I bet if we can edit that, which I found out we can, you could run a whole list of commands in 20 seconds if you wanted to. Just run right down the list.
Right.
But then I got to thinking about that, and I experimented, I noticed that the video in the player just keeps right on playing while I'm running other commands. And it's like, wait a minute. If I just hold off on that last command, the video will finish, move on to the next step.
Okay. And so you realized you could adjust the duration in that center column. And in your video, it was from 5 minutes down to 2 minutes, and the video would keep playing, but the duration was the duration in order to execute the next thing in the playlist.
Correct.
Okay. All right. And so, so the 2 minutes that you there was 2 minutes from the previous command, or 2 minutes from the
2 minutes till the next command.
2 minutes till the next command. Okay.
Basically, just makes it into a timer.
Okay. All right.
Do the same thing with the turning the overlays on and off, or switching camera shots, or whatever you want to do. And you can wait, 4 or 5 seconds between shots, so everything just kind of meshes together nicely. There's another feature, and this is a little tidbit. This is a bonus tidbit for you. Let's say you have a playout list that you want to start at 2 p.m. and it's 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
You can put a delay on the very first command to wait 4 hours to start the playlist.
Get out.
That's in the VidBlaster form. I found out that you can run a ghost macro 101. If you look in the documentation, there are only 100 macros available. But if you load an API command to call macro 101, which does absolutely nothing, and set your timer on it to run this macro at so many hours past what the current computer time is, it'll wait and it'll run that command at that time. There's your bonus tip for me today.
All right, run that one by me again. I'm a little slow on the uptake.
Let's say, for instance, you're sitting at your production machine. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. You want to start a broadcast using the Playout Controller at 2 o'clock.
Okay.
You will load a API write macro 101 execute true and set the duration for 4 hours. Hit your play on the Playout Controller. It'll count down 4 hours and move on to the next command.
Okay, so what would be the text of that command? API write space.
Let's see. I think I had it here. Macro execute, or macro 101 execute, the syntax for it. Just like you call up any macro in an API command in a playout.
Oh, and the duration goes in the Playout Controller.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I was using it for a while in my broadcast where, our worship service gets done at 10 o'clock. I would wait till 1 o'clock to start the replay.
Right.
And I just set a time and close my box up and go home. And at 1 o'clock, it would start everything all over again. That's how I found that.
Ow, that's amazing.
That one is not documented until now.
I am loving this. Oh, this is too cool, guys! I told you he was the doctor. He's the doctor. He understands this stuff and figuring it out and putting it to use. That's the best thing. And
I'm not sure if I understand it, but I've broken it enough times that I know what works and what doesn't.
All right, I think we've got another question in the chat room. It's from Martin K. over in Manchester, UK. If Playout is running macros, then is it possible to set up a macro to do something? Okay, I'm sorry, I misread the question. Then if it's possible to set up a macro to do something, then would it not be possible to do the same thing in the Playout?
Yes. You can run individual API commands in the Playout. My macros do 3 or 4 things in one shot. They turn the player on, they load a file, they turn the Playout on. Instead of having 150 commands in my Playout list, I've got 50.
Right. And most of those are referring to macros else.
Correct.
So you could have a macro that executed in 10 minutes and then go create that macro now and then put it there so it's available in 10 minutes to be executed.
I suppose that's possible. I don't know if my brain would allow me to do that or not. It takes me a week or two to set up a macro, so I don't know if I could do it in 10 minutes or not.
Well, but I'm thinking of a way. I mean, one of the things that is a current limitation and may always be a limitation is that you can't edit a playlist while it's live. Or if you can, you have unexpected results.
Yeah, you can. It's possible. You just got to be careful.
Right. And so one of the ways to do that would be to embed a macro in there that
Correct.
you could fill in later. Now, what happens if you invoke a macro that doesn't exist?
It does nothing.
Oh, it just skips it and goes on.
Skips and goes on, yeah.
Okay. Doesn't flash an error message.
There are some API commands revolving around the switcher that if you enter an API rate command for a switcher in the playout, they don't work. But if you load them in a macro and then execute the macro, then it will work.
Interesting. Have you found other API commands besides switcher commands that don't work in playout?
I can't think of one off the top of my head. The switcher comes to the top of my mind when you want to load something in program or preview.
Right.
And switching to where videos are going or displays are going. That's the only one I can think of off the top of my head. I think there's a couple more. I did some experimenting with what you wanted to do in switching playout lists. That's possible now, too.
What?
Yeah. I haven't finished that one yet. I'm still working on that one.
So you can have a playout.
You can run one playout list, and the way I did it is the very last command, I made a macro to load a new playout list and keep on playing.
And it works?
It does.
No way.
Fortunately, it's going to be a while before I can show you that because during that process, I cleared out my macro list and lost all my macros, so I had to rebuild them. So.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
We'll get back to that on that.
Oh, so you're in the process of rebuilding all your macros.
Correct.
Okay. Wow. I need to go check my Carbonite and make sure it's backing up that folder now that you've said that. Holy cow.
I found out the hard way when you're looking at your macros, if you hit the clear button and exit out of VidBlaster, they're gone.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
There's sometimes when the macro file will auto-save, and if you hit the clear button and it auto-saves, they're gone. So make a backup.
Huh. Okay. Wow. All right.
Any other questions out there?
Okay, I'm looking. And Martin has a comment. Already the last question in the chat. Okay. So we've answered that one still. So the possibilities. All right. So now, and what you've done is you've taken the little teeny idea I've had, and you've expanded it not to say, okay, why bother just to pop in an overlay? Let's go ahead and load videos. Let's switch to this. Let's stop the streamer. We're going to use the Playout Controller to stop the streamer. Can you control the recorder with it too?
Yes. Just about all of the API write commands you can control with Playout.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. I can see that Dr. VidBlaster is going to have to do a series of tutorials on this for us so that we can really wrap our arms around it. And, and Al, the thought comes to me is, the tutorials that everybody's brain works a little differently. Mine just works at half the speed of everybody else's. But one of the ways that tutorials are helpful for me is If somebody says, here's a problem, I want to show you how I solve that problem. And I may not have the exact problem, but I may have one close enough that the process will either solve the problem for me or will show me how I can adapt the
Correct.
process slightly to solve my problem. So what I'd love to do, you and I, maybe we can work together on this, is to set up some scenarios of, how could we do this using the API and macros and Playout Controller. How can we get it to do this and dumb it down? I mean, see, that's why you need me, because if I can understand it, then anybody can get it. The guys in the chat room here, they're just like, come on, go on to the next subject. We got this. But Sinclair, he's the dull bulb in the room. This is awesome. This is great. Well, all right. Based on what you know so far, what kind of ideas have you been toying with in your head? If I can do A and I can do B, then I can do C.
Well, I'm already at that step right now.
Uh-huh.
The whole idea of church broadcasting, a couple of years ago, who would watch church online?
Right.
We were watching it online, but now we want to see the Bible study too. That comes after the service.
Right.
Or any special programs. And, oh, darn, I missed it. And, it may be 2 or 3 days before you get the post-production video uploaded. Well, what if I just go back and can I watch it later on today in sequence? We never used to stream our Bible studies, and we did for a good 4 or 5 months there, and we had to stop just due to logistics because it's in a different room.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And I have people begging me to put the Bible studies back on the live stream. So, and also be able to watch them later on in the day, or someday if we get a good enough internet service where I can run 24/7, totally unmonitored by itself.
Right.
We may get to that point.
Now, you guys are running standard definition on your broadcasts, right?
Correct.
Because that's about all that's going to fit into the bandwidth you've got available. Okay.
I'm about 2.5 megabytes up, but I only stream at 500. Because people on the other end, the elderly, they only have an old computer.
Right.
Or they're running off an iPad.
Right. Oh, good point. Good point.
I got some recent feedback that someone watched our live stream replay in the afternoon, hooked up to an iPad, hooked to a big screen TV.
Not exactly what you intended, but it worked, huh? Oh, that's cool.
Figure out how to hook up to a Roku channel. That's going to be that's in my probably the next year. We'll figure out how to do that.
Okay. All right. Well, what about this? Let me take what we're talking about and let's go a little bit bigger with it. And let's say that using the Playout Controller, you could automate the entire broadcast. If you could get your computer to power on and to load VidBlaster and to start the Playout Controller, you could do everything pre-programmed.
Correct.
You could do an entire live service.
You could do a whole week's worth.
You could do you could do all the midweek services. I mean, switching cameras would be a little tricky, but other than something like that, you could stream it, you could record it, you could play it back later.
Yeah. I'm not sure about doing a live though, because the Playout Controller runs a player, which is pre-recorded. I have not tried to load up, say, what's in program, onto the Playout Controller. I don't think you can do that yet, because it all goes through the player.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm pretty sure it has to be pre-recorded.
New feature request. So let's incorporate. Well, all right. Can you incorporate a camera
I don't think so.
Okay. Okay.
I have not tried it.
Okay.
Uh-oh. The gears are turning.
Yep.
It hurts again.
So if you could do a camera, if you could do program, because then it's going to have all your overlays that are built into whatever the program is.
Yeah. I don't think you can do a camera, to come to think of it.
Okay.
Again, it's, Playout Controller is to control the player.
Can a macro initiate a playout?
Yes.
How would that work?
There's an API command there's an API pin for the Playout controller to start, stop, and there's one other one too.
Load?
Select which player you want. Load a file. Load a playout list.
Load a playlist. Yeah. Okay.
So you could theoretically create a macro to load a specific playout list named whatever, if you've got a number of them, and set up your streamer and your output, or if you're using output.
Right.
Which is exactly what I do.
Right.
I have a macro button that I push. It starts everything in sequence.
I'm just speechless, which rarely happens. Rarely happens. I'm dumbstruck. In my mind, like you, the gears are turning. I'm thinking, well, if you could do this, you could do this. If you could do that, you could do this. And wow. And of course, one of the things that you, boy, I'm tongue-tied now. One of the ways you and I are different, Al, is that my VidBlaster configuration changes all the time. Modules come and go, and of course, when you're writing macros and you're identifying modules and the modules aren't there anymore, then the macro doesn't work the way it's supposed to. You, on the other hand, have got things very well organized, and there's this, I'm sure, a large base set of modules that do not change, because you've got macros that depend on those modules being active.
Oh, that's one of the beauties. That's one of the beauties of the API commands. Is take the effect module. If you're doing that with a mouse, there's usually 3 or 4 steps to change things. If you run an API command, you can do that with one macro. Change which camera view you're looking at. Change the background. One of the macros I designed is once a month we play a special video from our Lutheran Synod, and its aspect ratio in the player is different than normal.
Okay. I
have a macro set up that when I hit the play button, it changes the aspect ratio. And when the video is done, it changes it back for the next video. That was a feature request I waited for Mike for 6 months. Finally got it. And it works perfectly. For those out there who are wondering about all this, go look through the help file under the TCP section for all the API commands, and then go back into each individual module to look at what they call pins. And you can, cross-referencing, you can figure out just about every module out there. You can do quite a bit of things with it with an API command. Pretty much anything, like for instance the players, play, stop, take on stop, play on take. There's all kinds of commands like that you can do for each one of them. And then once you get a setup you like, save it in a profile that you can recall later. I have 4 different profiles I use. So
okay.
I have a special one just for replay. You guys just saw it. Very light, and all it does just only has the modules that you need. But the important part was the playout list.
Can a macro load a profile?
No.
Okay.
And one other issue that there is with the Playout Controller is you have to have the Playout Controller running in order to run a macro on it.
Okay. Okay.
So say, for instance, you run a macro 10 or whatever you've got set up. If it calls for the Playout Controller to start, the Playout Controller has to be loaded and on the screen first.
Okay.
With the play, in other words, if you haven't hit the Control Shift and View to turn on the Playout Controller, it's not going to work.
Okay. Sounds like another feature request. I mean, if you're talking about a way to have enough tools to be able to automate everything you want to automate, you've got to be able to anticipate that I'm going to have to start this. I'm going to have to get VidBlaster to load its own profile. I'm going to have to get it to. I mean, it's going to load modules when you load a profile, but it's not going to load. It's not going to load controllers.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
Okay.
So one thing I do here that I've done for quite a while is when I get done with a broadcast, and let's say I get done with my reruns for the day, I'll load the next service profile we're going to have, get it all loaded, and then shut it down. And when I refire it back up on broadcast day, it comes up right where you need it.
By the way, folks, I have posted the URL for the VidBlaster forum. If you want to go and read some of Al's posts and some of my whinings about the Playout Controller, you can do that. Excuse me, and you can chime in too. We want to get as much input on this feature as possible, because as decisions are made as to how to implement it, those decisions impact what it can do in the future. And so we want to keep as many good options open as we possibly can, and we also want to. I mean, the idea of popping in a lower third or a graphic or a transparent overlay for a purpose should be a lot easier than it is now. But Al has figured out how to make VidBlaster. I mean, again, VidBlaster is a wonderful set of Legos or Tinker Toys. And you can do just about anything with it, but the improvements that at least my heart desires are improvements to make some of these great things that Al has figured out to do simple enough that I can do them, so that it doesn't take somebody like Al to teach me how I can push two buttons and achieve the same purpose. Now, call me lazy, or just call me dumb. One of the two. But hat tip to Al for going the extra mile and figuring it all. Of course, there's nothing like vested interest in being able to do, to have a problem and want to solve it and find out how VidBlaster can solve that problem, because it certainly can. And Al, you have done that repeatedly and come up with. I mean, you are, of all the folks that I know of that are using VidBlaster all over the world, you are on the cutting edge in terms of using the API to do things for you to make your life easier.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you have your own personal robot.
Oh, if you look at this little keyboard right here, the F12 keys along the top, I have one for each one of them, and I can run my whole broadcast start to finish with 4 of them.
Wow.
It just makes setup and getting things started so much easier. You don't have to worry about it. You hit the button, you know it's going to work. It just for those of us who are in a standard production every single week, it becomes part of your workflow. You do this, 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 and this. And I have a little cheat sheet on my taped to my desk here. I push this button at this time, this button at this time, this button at this time. I mean, you can even do green screen on the video effect module with macros. It's,
Oh my goodness.
And the Playout Controller, that's just addition.
Well, hold on. You're going to tempt me with this with like 3 minutes left in the show of how to do green screen? Oh my God, that's not fair. I know what his trick is, folks. He's trying to get an invite to come back on this show again.
I've got about 6 of them lined up for you.
Okay, well, we don't want to OD on you, Al. We might have to space you out a little bit. All right, well, real quickly, because we're running out of time here. For folks that have made it through this far and are still going, API commands, Al, tell us the general syntax of the commands that you're using. You've got API write, which is the command. API write meaning WRITE.
We're going to write a command and tell VidBlaster to do something.
Right.
The next portion of it is you're going to pick which module or which section you need to control.
Okay. So we're just going to have an identifier there, like player 1 or something like that.
And then we're going to have some kind of command after that, whether it be load a file or turn it on or turn it off or select one of the features of that specific module.
Okay.
And then there's what's Mike call that last part? There's a place to enter some text in or something in quotes.
Okay.
Usually then if that's not needed, you put a true at the end of it.
Okay.
Just to fill out the syntax.
Okay. And so which part of that is the pin?
The pin comes after the API write, and then whichever module you're working with, the pin is the next portion.
So the pin is the command within the module.
Correct.
So you're going to have the API write command, and then you're going to have a module identifier, and then you're going to have a module command.
Correct.
And then you're going to have that, that true or whatever.
Or a text or a file name if it's going to load a file.
I got you. Okay. So pretty simple in terms of syntax.
Yes.
And
once you get the spaces and the commas figured out.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think a module like player 1 would be player space 1.
Correct.
Comma. Okay.
And if you call them by their actual name versus their position on a switcher, that way if you move positions around, doesn't matter. It still calls the player 1. That's the trick there.
Run that by me again.
There's something to do when
Folks, he does this to me all the time.
If you're running an APA command off of a module in a specific position on the switcher module,
right,
and then you switch something around and it moves positions, it won't work. But if you call a module by its name, no matter where it's located on the switcher, it'll pull it up.
So if I'm going API switcher as the module and then identifying a position on the switcher, that's different from API and then the specific module name.
Correct.
Which, of course, is going to be a lot more bulletproof if modules come and go.
Correct.
Yeah, I ran into that one. I know what you're talking about now. Yeah. Boy, you should have told me that like a year ago. I
didn't know that a year ago. I just knew that a year ago.
But now you do. Good.
There's a lot of information in that VidBlaster help file. There's a lot to read in there, and it gets confusing. But if you get out there and experiment, give it a try, see if it works.
Cool. So we've got the Playout Controller, we've got the API, and we've got macros. All three pieces closely intertwined, making good use of each other. API commands can be executed through a macro. API commands can be executed through the Playout Controller. Macros can be executed through the Playout Controller. API commands can execute a macro. Macros can execute an API command to execute a macro. I mean, it just... Okay, well, I'm glad that you got all this figured out, Al, and that you're going to dumb it down so that I can get it. That's what I love the best. And so I can't wait. I may try this tonight. We'll see. All right, folks, don't you agree? Isn't Al doing... I mean, the guy's got it. He's got it. Despite the fact that it's -6 degrees up there, it has not frozen his brain. His brain probably heats the whole church because it's just figuring out all this stuff and creating all this heat and energy. Al, you're a champ. Thank you so much for coming on the show and taking the time to put that video together. Let's see. You've got that video posted somewhere. You
On
want to, you want to share the URL with me in Skype, and I will put it here.
Just a moment here. I'll get the link here for it.
And we'll put it where you guys can see it.
And you can, in Skype, in Vimeo, you can expand it to full screen too, and you see it better.
Right.
And let's see. Links coming through Skype right now.
All right. There we go. There we go. Whoops. What did I do with Al?
Yeah, where'd I go?
There he is. I lost him. Sorry about that. Okay, so there's the address. We'll leave that up there for the rest of the show.
That link is also posted in the VidBlaster support forum too.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, that's right. I saw that. Andrew had already commented on that too. Yep. Is Andrew still in chat? Yes, he is. Good, good. Oh, Andrew says that he is today watching on a large screen via a tablet and Chromecast.
Sweet.
So he must not be working today, because generally he's on the train. It's 5 or 6 in the morning Australia time on Thursday when he watches the show. What's going on around here? This is crazy stuff. Well, look, we got to wrap this up. I could sit and chat to you here all day. Al, why don't you hang around for the pre-show? We've got some coffee and donuts that we're going to be handing out.
All right.
And folks, it's been just a super treat to have Al with us today, and to be able to go through all this stuff and learn it. And he's done a spectacular job. And hat tip to him. Hat tip to him. We're going to make sure we have him back for sure. If you need to reach Al, if you've got a question, you can probably find him on the VidBlaster forum. Or if you want to send an email to me, tom@thatvidblasterguy.com, I'd be happy to forward it on to him. And because I know there are going to be thousands of fans out there that want Al's autograph and all that other stuff. So if you're watching us live, hang on for the pre-show. We've got coffee and donuts, and I think some fudge that we made over Christmas. Other than that, we'll catch you next time. We're live on Wednesdays, and we post to YouTube that night, and it's been a treat. So if you're watching us live, hang around for the post show, and if you're watching us on YouTube, come watch us live sometimes. It's a lot of fun. Take care.